into this image where you can find like the custom preset I've created for this type of images. So if you want, you can just download them and try your hands on them. And if you do, please tag me in them so I see how you are using them. Thank you. So now we are going straight into Photoshop. Control E so that it takes you straight to Photoshop. So Control E, that's the shortcut for that. So this is my image in Photoshop and I haven't done anything to it. I like to keep my Photoshop workspace like this because it's easier for me to find everything I need. So F to start the edit. So this is my image. So when I get into Photoshop, what I normally do is I duplicate this layer, and then I try to take out some of the spots using the patch tool. And when doing this, please keep in mind that everything has to be subtle, so you don't overdo it. Otherwise, you lose textures in your image. So everything. So to take out these things, just need to patch. You patch, then you move, then it works for you. So that's it. So I'm patching all these spots and pimples so it's easier for us to work. Anything that you can see on the skin you don't like, you just use the patch tool to take them out, which I know is fairly easier, but some people like to use the spot healing tool or the spot healing brush. But for me, the patch healing tool I think will work well for this, because in Photoshop there are many ways of doing the same thing. So maybe how people do DS is different from how people go about DS also. So if you understand what I'm saying. So because I don't like this here, I'm taking them out. Yeah. So because this is a tutorial and I don't want to take much of your time, I'm just going to do this very fast and quickly so I don't waste your time, because people just want to know how to go about the process, not how you do it. So I just think I'm just doing this so that you people will understand whatever has to be done. So this is what you see, what you've done. This was what was before we came from Lightroom, and this is after Lightroom. So, and I'm going to flatten my image, and there are some actions I use because as you are working it has to be fast. I got this from Prince Mason's YouTube page, which is really helpful, so I think everybody should check him out too. And I think you find a link to this action in one of his description box. I don't know which one exactly, but I think you find a link to his also there. So I'm using the advanced frequency separation. So for images like this, I normally work around 10. I think it works pretty fine for me. 10, 9. It is a half body image, so maybe 6 will do. Yeah, 6. I don't really understand the logic to why people have to select those numbers, but I know I learned the smaller the number, the better it works for you. So I think from there it works for me. The next thing we're going to do is try and fix the skin, like skin smoothing. And there are a lot of ways people do this. People decide to use just the brush, but I use the mixer brush because I feel that is kind of easier for me. I use wet 30, low 30, mix 15, flow 15. Then I work on it. You should know that you are supposed to brush from light to dark, because if you brush from dark to light, it will make it blotchy. So you brush in one direction that you know would blend in. So all the parts where you see your skin is not even, you just brush over smoothly, not too much, otherwise you lose the exact mapping of it, because we are just doing this very subtle, so we don't lose the original image, if you get what I'm saying. I want everything to look as natural as possible, because that's the way to edit. And this is very fast when you use the mixer tool brush. After which I'll go in and see if there are any spots I couldn't take out when I was doing the first cleanup. So I'll use the high frequency edit, then use my clone brush or clone tool. Then I begin to clean up. So you do this very quickly, and take your time when you're doing it, because this is just a tutorial so that you guys will understand whatever I'm trying to teach you, which is relatively simple. And I think from week to week, I think we'll have different images from friends, because I'm going to ask friends to send in their images if they want, or if you want to, you can send your image. And if you think this video was very insightful, you can like the image and subscribe to my page. And don't forget to turn on the notification too, so that when I upload a video, you find it. Yes. So you do this quickly and nicely. So now the image is looking nice and sharp. So they have these check layers you can use to check if your image is nice and sharp. So when you do you just do this. When you invert it, if there are any pimples or spots, you see them standing out. So that's what I use to check if my images are in sync. Yes. After this, I'm going to flatten my image again. You see what we've done, how smooth the skin is now. Yes. Then there was a tutorial I bought from Danny Diamond, so I normally use that tutorial action to work on my images, because I feel it's simpler and everything is in sync. So after doing the first frequency separation, I do another frequency separation to keep my image on point. So this second frequency separation is really not important, but I just do it just in case I miss something in the first one. I use this one to to balance out wherever I miss. So it's just going to be like a walk in the park for this particular frequency separation. And I like it because it has a brush flow option, unlike the other one, where I'll need to create like an empty layer before I can brush on. So by so doing, I just pick a brush tool, I set my flow to 2% and my opacity to 100, and I select a part of the image where I feel the color is right. So if it's this part of the image that I feel that, I just choose it, then I try and brush over almost every place so that I just blend the colors together. So we have like a perfect color sync. And don't forget to do it everywhere so that your image will have like a very nice balance when it comes to the skin tones. Yes. Then I go on to dodge and burn. As a matter of fact, people do their dodge and burn differently, but I use the real dodge and burn tool in Photoshop, which what I normally do is I do the dodge first. I keep the exposure at 3%, then I take protect tones. Then I'm going to dodge almost everywhere that has white light. So anywhere that is bright in the image, I'm going to burn those parts, the earrings, anywhere that has like light. Because people do this using a black and white tool, but because I know whatever I'm doing, I'm going to do like a separate video and just dodge and burn for you guys to see how it's done. It has to be like in depth so you see what is really done. So I'm going to add another image to see how dodge and burn is done. Like how ladies makeup is the same way we do dodge and burn. So like what the ladies call highlights is dodging, and what the ladies call contour is burning. So you need to understand a bit of like making up or how ladies do makeup to just get this tutorial right. So there's it. I'm not doing it too much, but if it was an image I was paid to do, I'm going to, I think, exaggerate it, because you have to let the person's features stand out and pop. So I'm burning anywhere that is dark. And I think he shot this using one light. So you see all the light is coming from one part of the image. So you just dodge nicely and you burn nicely. So these are my dodge and burn layers. So this was the image without dodge and burn. Now this is the image with dodge and burn. You can see a little depth. And I go into sharpen her eyes, because people say the window to an image is the eyes. So I feel her eyes are a bit dull, so I'm going to work on that too. Here I use a flow of 100. As she said we should use like a flow of 100 and an opacity of 70. But what I normally do is I use an opacity of 80. I think it kind of works well for me. So then after you go and darken the iris and the eyebrows a bit, where you use a flow of 20. So I'm just darkening all these lashes so that they can stand out pretty fine, so that anybody that looks at these images can see that the eyebrows and all the other stuff were on point. And thank you, Selassie, for giving us this image. I think it's a very perfect image to explain everything. I believe when you are retouching, it shouldn't be too much of things that are not there. So you have to be just subtle on it. You don't do it too much. And I'm going to whiten the eyes. This is why I use 100%. Because the eyes is there. What's the window to the picture? When people look at an image, the first thing they see is the eyes. So I believe the eyes should be brightened fairly enough. And after, this just to add more life to the image. So at this, I use 10%. So you are going to dab in gently. I've not started dabbing yet. So you dab in and you reduce the size of your brush as you dab. So the more you dab, the more you reduce. So you can see, and I'm working on the brighter parts of the eyes now. So you do the same thing for the other eye quickly. So I don't waste your time. Yes. Perfect. You just do the same thing. Then we'll go on. He has something he calls the boost. When you do this, it adds more contrast to the image. Let me reduce this so you guys can see this quickly. I think I pressed the pen tool. Yeah. So let me go back. Brush. So this is the boost. When you add the boost, this is what it does to the image. I don't like what's happening here, so I'm coming to use the mixer tool brush again. Perfect. Now it's okay. Right now everything is blending in. So the boost, I normally like to use 2 of the boost, which tends to calm it down, but I think 1 will do for this image. Then I go into the gradient map. Then I go to this option which has photographic toning. Then yes, then okay. Then this is something I learned from Prince Mason. This is how it does his images golden. So I believe we can add some gold tones to this image, and I think it will work perfectly well. This is just the gradient. Then you go to soft light. Then you reduce the opacity. So when you reduce the opacity, you see what is happening. You go to the levels to bring in the whites. That's perfect. And sometimes I like to tone my images using curves, and so by so doing, I open a new curves layer. Then instead of RGB, I come into the red channel. So I normally just do this to just add some fill to the image. And just reduce this. Yes, I think it's perfect. Yes. And we see a before. Let me increase it so you guys can see the before and the after. So this is the before and this is the after. Before and after. So if we decide to pump up the blues in this image, and just use the hue and saturation, then instead of the master, you come into the blues and just increase the blues. So when you increase the blues, reduce too much of the blues. Then you create a max layer and just brush the blues out. Or wherever you need the blues to be, you just brush them out. So by so then just increasing that part. Then normally another thing I do is I create another hue and saturation adjustment, and I go to magentas and I reduce the saturation. So it removes any magenta in the image. So magenta used to create, it's a level of pink. You see some pink in the image. So that's what I do to remove my pink from the image. Then you can do same for, if you just want to take out all the pinks, all the cyans, and all the greens, you can just do same, so that the image will like stand out more. Then you have a very pretty much nice image. So another thing you can also do is add a solid color. So if you want it to look more golden, you choose like a golden color. So you choose like a golden color. So it depends on the tone you want to set your image to, or how cool you want it to look like. And just do this, then you change this to soft light, and just reduce the opacity to give it that cool tone. Yes. Then you just merge everything together and you save. So now it's saving the image. Then we can now go back to Lightroom. Then we see what we've done. So this was the image before. This is the image before going to Photoshop, and now this is the image after Photoshop. So I just reduce the blue primary because I see there's a lot of orange, which I don't actually like. Then I reduce the saturation too. Then I pump up the oranges a bit, then reduce my yellows, then reduce yes. So I like the way the image is looking now. So to tone it for it to look even more natural, I can just take down the blues. And now this looks like a more African looking skin. And then I'll export to the image. And to export an image, you can right click, then you see export, then export. I have some already set in parameters, so this is what I just do. So I normally export my images to an output folder where I find everything there, so it's well organized. I put them in subfolders and folders. So this is like Pixslrate, then file name, and I leave it like that. The JPEG settings, I normally use image format JPEG, the color space sRGB, then the quality 100%, the long edge. When I do image sizing, so I resize to fit long edge. Then the pixels I use is 1920 pixels, then the resolution 72. Then I just sharpen for screen. Then I export with all my meta. Then export. When it's done exporting, it will pop up like this. Then that's our final image. Thank you for watching this tutorial. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, then subscribe. Then don't forget to push the bell button so you get notifications as I post out new tutorials for you.